Okay, so to get a more in-depth look at what traders have been buying and selling this week, let's bring in Gemma Dale from nabtrade, who joins us live in the studio. Gemma, welcome along.
Thank you.
Getting a little bit more volatile, I see. Something to do with a bit of earnings season coming along here?
It's more that people are actually sort of coming back and they're trying to get themselves set. So they're looking for anything that is volatile. You made the point about FMG before, and like we still have that cohort who just love that thing, and it just keeps working for them. How do you let it go when it keeps working? So they keep trading Fortescue like nobody's business. It's the top of our trades every week. I wish it would stop at some point just simply to have something else to talk about, but they love it and they keep trading it really aggressively. But what is quite interesting is there's more there for people to trade, and then you've got your others who are going, I'm going to take a bet on how things are going to play out in reporting season. I've got my positions, I want to get set, and you can just see them shifting a little bit here and there, getting set for all sorts of excitement in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, excitement is certainly the operative word. But in terms of the other iron ore majors, you're saying there's some massive buying going on in Rio at the moment?
Yeah, this is really interesting. Rio is by far the least interesting of the majors to our guys. Like, you very rarely see it even in the top 20 now. Like, it's just not a super attractive stock for people to trade or get all over. And then suddenly it was like a 96% buy yesterday in very, very large volumes and very large average trade sizes. That's probably the biggest trend over the last few months. Market's flattened out. It's really struggling to get above 7,000 points for the ASX 200. Like, you can just see that kind of lackluster vibe happening. Yeah, it's not that exciting. But those things that are moving, you can see investors making some plays, and the average trade sizes are enormous. So those who are still there and still watching, they're moving big amounts of money around. Rio is one of those things that is attracting a lot of money at the moment.
Yeah, right. Okay, so a bit of a sleeping giant there. Now this is something, well, I just love talking about. We've got Sezzle and Zip, both massively traded. I do that update every day, whereas, you know, what are we following on the ausbiz platform? And it's just like, what's Zip doing today?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like 10% up. Oh, wow. What's going on there on the platform?
Fascinating to me, right? Because it did fall away. It was always the more traded of the buy now, pay later. So Afterpay, when it was Afterpay, was just a buy, and people let it run because it ran and they were just doing so well out of it. So they were happy to just buy and hold broadly, and then they got out when the Square deal was announced, and they had that fairly lengthy window to get out about $130, and they did that, which was a good idea. And then Zip was another one where they were like, oh, like it was a bit speckier, let's be honest. And so a lot of them got out, and as it started to fall, they were like, oh, I need to chop this thing. And it was more actively traded last year. It was fairly actively traded at the beginning of the year, and then people were like, I need to get out of this thing completely. Like, it's dangerous now.
Yeah, my partner's going to leave me.
Yeah. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy who's still holding Zip. So they all got out, and then suddenly it's fun again. Yep. But they're trading it, right? Yeah. They're not buying and holding. There are zero investors in Zip. There are traders in Zip, and that is all. That is fun. And Sezzle's the same. It's like, hey, things are moving. I'm going to get back in, see what I can do. Yeah.
Yeah. A bit of a gambling chef. It's funny that sort of volatility begets further volatility in that situation. We're seeing a little bit of love though for the lithium miners again. Is that right?
Yeah. Again, that's the specky end of your portfolio, and it's fun. Pilbara Minerals is in there. It's not so specky, right? They do love that. Core Lithium's back. Lake Resources is back. They're loving that at the moment. So those guys, like, the big numbers and their big volumes going through it, and they're coming from relatively wealthy people. This is not the bottom end having a play. This is people with a good chunk of money allocating to this sector or having a little play. Been volatile too, right? It's been some fun.
Oh,
so yeah, they've been having some fun with that as well.
And there's a bit of a buy the dip mentality on Woodside?
Yeah, this is interesting. Woodside is a real passion project for particularly self-managed super fund investors, and they've been taking the dividends, right? So they've been loving it. It's come off, obviously, and maybe I'll just get more because I love it. So I'm just going to buy more of it, and that's what we're seeing at the moment. They're just jumping all over it. It's those bigger guys, again, that's not traded, and it's definitely not the lower end. It's people who've been around a long time who like Woodside. It's got a real cohort of individuals who are keen, and then everyone else leaves it alone. Yeah,
right, okay. And NAB, a sell, but generally sitting tight on the banks?
Yeah, so NAB is a sell above $30. This is a very, very consistent theme. Every time it pops above $30, we just see massive, massive selling. It's not necessarily indicative of how people feel about NAB, because it's still our largest holding by just a dramatic margin. Like, we have just a ton of NAB sitting in the book. Gets above $30, people have seen this before, and they start trimming like nobody's business. Just get it down. But the rest of the banks have really gone away. Westpac's been traded quite actively over the last 18 months. It's still fallen away. ANZ's interesting at the moment, but you know, there was that little pop there when everyone was like, oh, something could happen, then they just left it alone. It's not that exciting anymore. And CBA, $101, I don't know, 110 I'll sell it, 93 I'll buy it, 101 what am I going to do? It's boring.
Yeah, play the range, just right straight out of the technical analysis handbook. But speaking of tech of a different variety, the US tech, large selling in Tesla, that's unusual.
Well, yes, it's unusual, except again, like now, we've got so much of it. Tesla, obviously, the share price and the currency have such an impact on what the book looks like. It's just can move 20% in a day. But it was our 11th largest holding on the platform, which for an international stock is ridiculous. Yeah. It's bigger than Woodside, it's bigger than Rio, like it's bigger than Wesfarmers in our holdings. That's crazy, just because so many people have bought it and then held it all the way up, and a lot of people have been buying it at the top as well, just for fun. And now we're starting to see some selling, so that's quite interesting. But again, we've got so much of it, you will see that eventually. Block we saw selling, that surprises me a little bit, because generally our guys do not like selling into weakness unless it's something that's going to collapse. So there's been a bit of selling there. Intel is a buy,
right?
Which is amazing, because you've got AMD and you've got Nvidia and you've got those guys who've taken all their market share in the chip business and are just absolutely rocketing along at the moment. Not a buy. You've got Intel instead.
Bit contrarian.
Yeah, all I can think.
Yeah. No, I always just like to see the sentiment readings back when I was working in a broker, and it was just kind of like things drop enough and people just go, I'm going to buy it. Yeah. It goes up enough, I'm going to sell it. It was almost a great way to trade against, to be honest, when you saw that data. But Gemma, always love our conversations on a Friday. Let you get back to your Friday. Gemma Dale from nabtrade.
Thank you so much.